Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Jonathan Vertsonis. Welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel, where in this video I thought I would talk about some common mistakes that I see amongst job seekers, mainly that are making that transition from being university students to getting their first full-time job, as some things that I've seen as a recruiter and also a career coach over the last year or so doing these parts of work. So I thought I would get started with this video and talk about the idea of putting off applying. Now, this is something that's quite common amongst university students, and it's something that I would say I didn't necessarily have, and I'm very grateful that I didn't have it because the experiences that I got in between that time frame was amazing. So for me personally, I was graduating mid-year, so I was finishing my last exam was in May of so May of last year, and that was my last exam was during the month of May. So I had, and my last class would have been early May, late April. I can't remember the exact time frame, but basically, long story short, I started applying for full-time jobs from February of that year, purely because I would hear everybody talk about just how hard the job search is. Okay, just how competitive it is, just how difficult it is, how you always get ghosted and things like that. So I was like, you know what? Let me put together a resume and let me just start applying. Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? You know what I mean? I was very grateful that in my situation, I was only doing 2 units anyways. One of the classes, I didn't even need to go in like to the campus to do it. So I was pretty flexible with my time. So I thought, well, since I have this extra time, obviously I was working as well, but I thought, well, since I don't have, I'm not like religiously going to university and having to take on additional subjects and all these extra stresses, like why don't I just use that extra time to just start applying for jobs? And I just want to say, guys, those couple of months where I was applying, and I ended up getting my first full-time job literally like a week before I got my university results. Like I actually started my first week as my first full-time job a week before my results even came in. But I must say, guys, like starting to apply from that early on was genuinely like the best move I could have done on the chessboard. Like I felt so good doing that because for those couple of months, I got used to the idea of having a screening call, going in for an interview, putting together a bad screening call, having a bad interview, you know what I mean? Like doing really good in an interview, getting to the second round, and then, making a mistake, or then it going really well and then being prioritized or someone else being prioritized over me. You know what I mean? I learned so much on the go that look, if I had to coach somebody to do it all again, I would obviously cut out so many things that would save that person so much time. But I'm really grateful that I went through those experiences because I learned so much along the way. And I think a big mistake that university students make is they tell themselves, I'm going to start applying once this happens or when that happens. And I think in your head subconsciously, it's kind of like, oh, okay, that's when I'm actually going to get the job. It's a bit like when you hear somebody say, oh, once I'm 30, I'm going to start this business. I think in their head, when they say that, that means that at 30 years old, once they start the business, it's all going to come together like that. They're going to have millions of dollars straight away. When in reality, guys, like that's going to take another 4, 5, even 6, 7, 8, 9 years to actually build the success that they're thinking is going to happen. So it's not 30 years old you're going to have this business and be this multi-million dollar business owner. It's looking more so if you actually stay consistent with it, probably like 35 to 40. You know what I mean? And I think that's the exact same thing here with the job search. Is people think, well, once I graduate, I'm going to start applying for jobs. It doesn't mean that once, like let's say for me, like once my last exam's in May, it doesn't mean by, as May 12th, I have my last exam and I start applying for jobs by May 15th. It doesn't mean I'm going to get a job straight away. It could be another 6 months down the track before I actually land something. You know what I mean? So you'd rather go through those like mini experiences and lessons whilst having other things on already, so that it's all just kind of coming at once. So then hopefully once the times actually come for you to start applying for jobs elsewhere, you're actually a little bit more, you're at least better prepared. Because at the end of the day, guys, you're never going to run short of jobs. There are going to be jobs coming out every single day. Okay, even if you don't want to actually apply for jobs and you want to network, you're never going to run out of people to network with as well. So you're never going to run dry of that side of things. All that's going to change is how much more experienced you are after every conversation. You know, it's like if you're cold calling in sales, you know, you compare your first call to your 100th call, completely different. Compare your 100th call to your 200th call, completely different again. So it's the exact same thing. So just that's one tip I would give to anybody in university right now is don't put off applying. Like, even if you know at the end of the day, like, you know, you're probably not going to accept a job in the next week or so, it's irrelevant. Like, genuinely, just get out there and start getting used to putting your name out there, putting on applications, doing screening calls, doing interviews, and you'll even realize, like, you know, you may be applying for a month and not getting any attention. That will be another motivation to then change your resume. And you've done that now rather than waiting until you're finished university and technically an unemployed adult. You know what I mean? So it's good to go through those changes as early as possible and just get those experiences under your belt like straight away. So that's the first tip I would give. Secondly, is you're not actually applying enough. So this is another thing that a lot of job seekers make the mistake of, and it's not just, you know, juniors, it's everybody. It's the sense of how much do you actually apply, how much do you actually need to be applying? Well, at the end of the day, guys, one or two applications a day is not enough. Like, genuinely speaking, in this day and age, like, the market is so competitive, and I know this as a recruiter, not just a former job seeker. Like, I know this as a recruiter. Like, when I would put out a job, I would see hundreds of applicants, guys. Okay. And the thing is that when you're doing that, like, there's always going to be someone with a better resume. There's always going to be someone with a worse resume. And if you're purely applying off resumes and you're literally just submitting an application, like, it just comes down to, like, it's almost a gamble, essentially. It's essentially gambling. Like, the idea of you getting picked for that person, like, to be screened for that job. Like, the opportunities or the possibilities get lower and lower after every time you submit an application, or they don't get lower and lower, but the probability is lower because you're dealing with so many more people. So if you're only putting out one or two applications a day, guys, it's not enough. You know, genuinely speaking, when I was applying for my jobs, I would genuinely go to Seek and I would go to like the first like 5 or 6 tabs of the jobs that I wanted to get into, because I wanted to do either recruitment or sales or even I was even happy to do like a HR role if it just meant to get my foot in the door. So I was applying for all those types of jobs, and I would go on Seek and I would literally go to like the first 5 or 6 tabs and just quick apply to every single thing that I would see, personalize my application when it was needed, and I would just continually apply, guys. I would do that for half an hour to 40 minutes every single day. You know what I mean? And people are going to be like, you know, oh, but I don't have the time to do that. Trust me, and like, I'm not saying this in a disrespectful way, but as I tell all my own students, if you've got time to go on Instagram Reels and just doom scroll for half an hour, you've got time to do this. Okay, I promise you guys. And this is going to be a lot more beneficial. I promise you. Okay, so you're not applying enough. Okay, and that's the thing is, like, again, candidates come to me and they're like, oh, Jonathan, I'm really struggling in the job search, blah, blah, blah. Okay, how many applications are you putting out? They'll tell me 5 a week. And I'm just like, it's just not enough. Like, it's just not enough. You're not doing a job that niche that there's only 5 jobs out there. Like, go out there, submit applications. And this is going to tie into my next point. You're not networking. You're not networking at all. Okay. So again, this is my other thing with job seekers is, like, you can submit applications. And even if, you know, you're in an industry where jobs are very, very minimal and, you know, the opportunities are quite small for that season of life, network, send messages. If you can't find opportunities, create your own. That's how people think. That's how the successful people think. That's what I've learned through networking, is that, you know, there's people that wait for opportunities and there's people that make opportunities happen. Okay. You got to be that person that if you look out there and you're not seeing the jobs that you want to be applying for, or that you know are not best suited for you, you got to put yourself out there. You got to find people that are doing those jobs. You got to find people in the industries that you want to work in, and you've got to reach out to them. You've got to have a conversation with them. You got to take that initiative, because that's what's going to sell. That's what's going to help you get through to that next stage. At the end of the day, it may not guarantee you a job by doing that, but what it does is it opens a door, it builds a conversation, and that conversation could lead to an opportunity down the track, but you'll never know if you don't take that initial initiative. Okay, so make sure, guys, you are networking. There are so many easy ways to network. If you are literally scared to call somebody, connect on LinkedIn. This is the easiest way I'm telling you as a recruiter. Connect on LinkedIn, okay? Then send a personalized message, then try to organize a 10 to 15 minute chat. And all you're doing in that 10 to 15 minute chat is trying to really learn what the company that this person's working at, what they prioritize in an ideal type of candidate, understand what he does on his day to day, understand what the true contributions he needs to be doing are, and then you're able to learn from that whether that's the right environment for you. Okay? Then Ask them, if they know if anybody hiring, let them know. If he says to you, I don't have anybody at this company, then you say to him, who do you know elsewhere who could do with my services or who's worth a conversation with? Just little things like that. Get the ball rolling. I promise you guys, if you are able to do that, you are standing out 10 times more than anybody else around you. Okay. I even encourage networking if you've applied for a position. You know what I mean? If you even submitted your resume, go and try and connect with the recruiter. Try and connect with the recruiter. Try and build the conversation from there and go. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, when I'm a recruiter and I'm scrolling through 200 different applications, the one person who's going to stand out is the person that I've had a conversation with prior, or you know what I mean? Or like I can at least access his LinkedIn. I can at least get a better feel as to who he is as a person because he's personalized his application a lot more. Even if he hasn't actually applied yet, but he messages me first and we have a bit of a conversation about the job, that's going to take him a lot further than just submitting a resume and that's it. And then I know nothing more about him. You know what I mean? You can literally submit an application and then message the recruiter and just ask them what are they prioritizing for the position. Or if you don't even want to submit the application, and some people will feel a little bit less intimidated by doing this, don't send the application yet. Send them a message. Send the recruiter directly a message. Tell them you have some interest in the role. Understand what they're prioritizing. And therefore, if you are to proceed to the next stage, they've already got a better understanding of you and who you are as a person, and you're able to sell yourself a lot better on a personal level. Okay, because that's what I feel like the whole job search is, guys. Yes, it's good to be smart. Yes, it's good to be able to have a good background and things like that. But if you can't talk, if you can't communicate really well, and you can't show them that you are a good person to work with, it's going to go nowhere. So by personalizing your applications, building relationships, you're able to show a different side to you that a resume can't. Okay. I hope you guys got some value from this video. If you guys did and you guys enjoyed it and you want to learn more from me on a one-to-one level or about the implementation of the things that I've talked about in this episode, feel free to click the links below. More than happy to help you guys even more. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed. Take care and I'll see you guys next time.